Greetings, everyone still riding the sugar high that is Avengers Endgame. While I have several less than positive thoughts about the culmination of 22 years of filmmaking, that cannot detract from the sheer magnitude of fan service that we did receive. Perhaps the greatest of all being the moment when... Now, it goes without saying, folks, that to finish that sentence, I will have to issue a spoiler warning for Avengers Endgame and all films in the MCU just to be safe. If you're still here, and you got here through a search engine, odds are we both thought Captain America using MJOLNIR to fix Thanos' bumpy-ass chin was violent perfection.
Stop! Hammer time!
Watching him ping-pong both hammer and shield off that purple face, I was astonished this was Cap's first time wielding the mighty mallet. On film, however, we've only been privy to 2 instances where Steve got up close and personal with MJOLNIR. The first time didn't go so well for Mr. Rogers. Sure, he budgeted enough to make Thor nervous, but ultimately the hammer was not lifted. To answer the question of how Cap got worthy within 11 films or less, I've re-examined a few possibilities and I've got a solution that straddles 2 mediums. I'm Hudson's Prime, and here are my thoughts on how Captain America was able to lift Thor's hammer in Avengers Endgame. Now, this has been a hotly debated topic since Age of Ultron, so there are a lot of theories out there that could explain Cap's worthiness from one film to the other. While I agree a few different solutions could explain the change, there are a few theories I'm less on board with. Though it would be super cute, I don't think Cap chose to not pick up MJOLNIR to spare Thor's feelings. Yes, it does put a fun spin on Thor's "I knew it" in Avengers Endgame, but when slowed down, this exertion makes me believe that Cap was really trying here. Now, it could be argued there's a specific point in Civil War that Cap becomes worthy, either by holding true to his principles or by asking forgiveness from Tony for withholding information on his parents' death. Since Steve never directly lied to Tony, he just stayed tight-lipped, I doubt the hammer would hold that against him. Plus, we find out in Ragnarok that Odin wasn't exactly forthcoming with a lot of family history for Thor, and the hammer didn't just drop out of his hand when he placed the enchantment on it. I do feel there is some credence to the theory that self-doubt kept the hammer down. After watching his teammates fail to raise MJOLNIR, I can believe humble Steve Rogers may not think he can lift it, and therefore defeats himself mentally. He did nudge it after all, which places Steve into a unique place within the black and white rationale MJOLNIR's enchantment puts forth. We've seen characters who definitely are and definitely are not worthy, but to my knowledge, Cap is the only maybe response the hammer has ever doled out. I believe this is where the true answer to Cap's worthiness lies. I argue that Captain America has always been worthy to lift the hammer since his last days as the first Avenger. I base this by comparing his journey to the only other character who has and has not been able to lift MJOLNIR in the MCU, the mighty Thor himself. In Thor the First, Thor is cast out of Asgard and stripped of his powers for plunging the realms into war. This action placed his personal vendetta above the safety of others. Thus, Odin enchanted MJOLNIR to teach Thor the value of life.
If he be worthy, he shall possess the power of Thor.
Once Thor learns this lesson by risking his life to save innocent people, he doesn't have to pick it up. The hammer flies to his corpse, eyes closed. Based on the plot, Odin's original definition of worth hinges on putting the lives of others before yourself. If the basis to pick up MJOLNIR is based on this lesson, Cap passed that test in the 40s. He went into the ice to save innocent lives, and he had to wait 80 years to get his dance with Peggy Carter because of it. Though all the Avengers would arguably match this definition of worth, it is their extracurricular activities that have separated them from the squeaky clean Cap in moving the mallet. If Cap has been worthy of MJOLNIR since Avengers 1, then what's the deal in Age of Ultron? MJOLNIR, broken down, answers a yes or no question. Are you worthy? You can argue Cap did something in Civil War to change his worthiness, but under that argument, he shouldn't have been able to even nudge the hammer in Age of Ultron. If he's not worthy for withholding info, I would argue he shouldn't be able to nudge it at all. As I said, you either are or are not worthy. For Captain America to receive an ask again later moment, there has to be something deeper at work here to render this middle vote, and as always, I believe the comics hold the answer. In recent years, largely with the guiding hand of Jason Aaron, MJOLNIR has been revealed to have a level of sentience. Now, don't ask it to take the SATs for you, but definitely enough sentience to make a decision on who is and who is not worthy. An object having a level of intelligence is not a far-fetched idea within the MCU, thanks to Doctor Strange's cloak of levitation. I mean, that thing is basically Aladdin's carpet for the superpower set. Mjolnir's personality is even hinted at ever so slightly by Korg in Thor Ragnarok.
Sounds like you had a pretty special and intimate relationship with this hammer, and that losing it was almost comparable to losing a loved one.
Now, if you subscribe to the idea of Thor's hammer having some wits about it, this explains why Cap got option 3 the first time he tried to lift it. Cap was worthy, but didn't have a good enough reason to use the mighty mallet. Every time Mjolnir is moved by someone who isn't Thor, there is an urgency to the action. Vision lifts the hammer to encourage the Avengers to face down Ultron before it's too late, and later to save Thor from Ultron's grasp. And we all know why Cap had a solid need to lift Mjolnir in Endgame.
Stop! Hammer time!
In Age of Ultron's famous scene, there's no need to lift the hammer. Sure, there's a Deathbot being born downstairs, but if the Avengers don't know that, I doubt Mjolnir would. Now let's take a second to examine the situation. In that scene, the Avengers were all drunk and have turned Mjolnir into a game.
Please be my guest.
Getting toasted on millennia-old Viking mead in a relaxed setting and being Earth's last man standing against Thanos are two wildly different sets of circumstances. To be lifted by someone besides Thor, I'd wager a semi-sentient hammer would want a damn good reason to switch owners, even temporarily. Though it's non-canon, this is the reasoning Superman himself is both worthy and not worthy of Mjolnir within the same story. Thor tells Superman the stakes of the situation play as much of a role as the person's worth. This would certainly explain the circumstances seen within the MCU.
Did it work?
Case in point, this man is clearly worthy to lift Mjolnir, yet once more the hammer refuses to move for party games. I'm beginning to see a pattern here. While Sweet Lady Mjolnir is too proper to just change hands in the middle of a booze-filled evening, she can be a flirt. But if the chips are down and her best friend is about to be opened up like a can of Pringles, Mjolnir knows exactly what time it is for anybody worthy enough to wield her.
Hammer time!
Anyway, that's my 2 cents on Cap's worthiness to lift Mjolnir. What I want to know is, what do you guys think? Do you agree with me that Thor's hammer is smart enough to know when it's being moved? Do you think Cap should have tried harder in Age of Ultron? Or do you think he was just being nice? Let me know your thoughts on why the hammer is hot and cold on Cap in the comments below. Thank you guys, as always, for watching these videos and contributing to the conversation on all our fictional friends. If you like more pop cultural discussion, be sure to check out my channel for more theory and gaming videos, and check out our discussion on the Wavy Nerd Podcast, now on Spotify. Please do throw me a like and subscribe if you think I deserved it, and if you like what you saw and are thirsty for more. Once again, thank you very much, Prime Peoples, and until next time, good luck in your adventures, and Godspeed.